The governor of my state, for a political stunt, paid for people from Texas to be flown to Martha's Vineyard. People were used as a political tool. Ron DeSantis then also set forth a series of legislation which backfired because immigrants and migrant workers left the state during a time when picking was required. And Americans don't want that job despite the fact that Republicans say so. In the state of Florida, Ron DeSantis got into bed with Prager University, who is teaching children that slavery was good for them. Slavery was good. There were, positive aspects of slavery for those people who were enslaved. It's also teaching that Christopher Columbus did nothing wrong when he encountered the people living in the Carib Islands. It's not going to talk about the fact on his second voyage he convinced the Carib Indians, because he knew there was going to be an eclipse, that his god was more powerful than the Carib gods, and they gave him food they should not have given him, and many starved here in North America. History is important, but because the people we are talking about are not white Christians, the GOP is attacking that. In the state of Florida, AP African American history was deemed by Ron DeSantis to be offensive because it talked about African American history, and in that African American history, there were people on the rainbow and people who were transvestites. And that can't be allowed in Ron's Don't Say Gay state. And that's what we're fighting for too. In the United States, in Tennessee, one of those townships has made a law where you can't be gay in public. This has already been proven to be unconstitutional, and yet they're continuing to pump out this nonsense. Homosexuality was not added to the Bible until 1946. Prior to that, it does not exist. The hate that you have and the animus that you have for people on the rainbow is beyond ridiculous. And the hate for people who have more melanin than you is absolutely ridiculous. The mass shooting that occurred in November when the racist went into a Dollar General in Jacksonville, in a state where Ron DeSantis has not said, if you protest as Nazis, we're going to arrest you. He hasn't said that because that's his base. It's the same reason why Nikki Haley would not say that slavery was the cause of the Civil War in that nonsense that was going on in Iowa. 11 states left the Union. They left the Union because northern states said, you're not going to expand slavery any further. They wanted to go to California, and California said, no. The reason why it's the 49ers, it's the 49 gold rush. And right after that, you have statehood. In California, if you look at it and you draw a map from Virginia to California, look at a map, draw a straight line across, it made sense for the Southerners to think that they would have slave states there, because that's essentially what they had done. And no was the answer. And you had a mini civil war occur, what we call Bleeding Kansas, after the Compromise of 1850, where both northern and southern hooligans, and I'm going to use the word because that's what it was used in, ruffians, were slaughtering each other, trying to establish the state of Missouri either to be free or not to be free. At one time, there were two separate state governments, both saying that they were the ruling government. That was slavery. And the people that were most adversely affected by slavery, of course, were people who were African American, who were denied opportunities, who were suppressed under Jim Crow with poll taxes and voter tests and things like that never existed before, and imprisoned for loitering, because if you're standing around, you're not working productively for a white man. This is the history of the United States. In 1954, Brown versus the Board of Education said that segregated schools were not separate and equal. And the GOP wasn't the same party then. They were the ones who were pushing it. And in 1958, you had the National Guard in Arkansas forcefully integrate the students. And you can still see the woman, that cute little black girl. She's alive today. This is our history. And to say that you're not willing to teach AP American history, African American history, that stuff's important. But we want to whitewash, which is what the GOP is doing. Whitewash. Look at what happened in Texas, where they took out black author after black author after black author on the civil rights movement. If you're not listening to Dr. Martin Luther King, if you're not listening to Malcolm X, if you're not reading their words, if you're not reading the words that people who had been oppressed during that time period, you're not getting a full picture of what was transpiring. Again, trying to whitewash history. This is something the GOP is doing. They are attacking people that are homosexual. They're attacking people that are immigrants. They're attacking people who have more melanin than I do. And it's systemic. That's why Nikki Haley's not a real candidate. There is absolutely positively no way that MAGA is going to vote for a woman whose father is Sikh, which makes her a Sikh. Ron DeSantis has been proven to be completely unpopular. Everything is forced. There's nothing about him that's genuine. And that leaves Chris Christie and Vivek Ramaswamy. If Donald Trump gets kicked off, which is a distinct possibility, you got the Epstein tapes coming out, you have all the information that's coming out from the Georgia racketeering case, he is going to get barred more than likely by an appellate court decision because the Supreme Court bounced it back to the appellate court. So we'll see what will happen. It's about to get very entertaining because, again, the primaries have not been declared. No one's won the primaries. There's no primary winner yet for either party. And Joe Biden is 81 and Donald Trump is 78. That's 160 years between the two of them, 161. And they have not really begun to run. This whole year is going to be the two of them bouncing around the United States. How healthy do you think it's going to be for both of them? And that's the reason why we're talking about this kind of stuff. You have Dean Phillips out there. You have Kamala Harris as the vice president. I see the GOP attacking African Americans. I see the GOP attacking the rainbow. And I see the GOP attacking immigrants perpetually. And that's frightening. And I haven't even talked about Medicare or Medicaid. The GOP is putting our society in danger, and your friends also in danger. We should finally be done with racism, don't you think? Vote true, vote blue.